Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to check out my podcast. So this is a basketball podcast, and normally I go over the NBA, high school, college, and international basketball, and I usually have 4 segments that I go over week in and week out. One segment being a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon, and in PJ's Echelon, that's essentially just my power rankings. Another segment I go over is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, essentially, it's me giving you some type of basketball news or some type of basketball historical history that was made over this last week. Another segment I go over is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. And in Games of the Week, I'm talking about a basketball game. It could be in high school, college, international, or the NBA that I really enjoyed watching. Or it could be in a game that I attended or a game of some type of significance. And the last segment I go over is a segment I like to call In the Lab. And in the Lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, or I'm talking about high school, college, or international basketball. Today, I'm not doing any of those segments. I just wanted to give you guys that information. So if you're curious what my podcast is about, today, this is our NBA playoff preview episode. So I'm going to do something a little different. Last year, I gave you guys my entire bracket, and I had Oklahoma winning last year. This year, I'm going to do a little different. I kind of want to be a little bit more methodical with it. So this year, we're going to go round by round. So each episode I'll do will be per round. So this episode will be just for the first round. And the next time I do an episode, it'll be for the second round, and so forth and so forth. Okay, that's how I kind of want to do it this time around, and just kind of see how I like doing it that way. Normally, I just do my whole bracket, but I just want to try something a little different this time around. So I haven't decided yet if I want to give you guys my NBA champion or not. So that's something I'm considering. But let's dive straight into it. I really don't want to waste any more of you guys' time. We're going to start off first with the Eastern Conference. So the first series that I want to start off with is the Detroit Pistons versus potentially either the Orlando Magic or the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte and Orlando play later today. I will talk about both of those teams regardless, just to kind of cover my tracks. But I really think this first round series is really about Detroit and them introducing maybe not your average basketball fans to who they are and what they're about. To me, part of this year, they were the best defensive team. And I also think they're entering this playoffs with a chip on their shoulders, which is, kind of crazy to think about. And we've seen it happen in the past, but I think they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder just based on at least my personal experience, what I've seen and what I've heard. But also I think probably what they've heard as well. So I think they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder. I think they're easily one of the 2 best defensive teams in the NBA. And so I'm excited to watch them in this first round. They don't take many threes. They're like bottom third. They're bottom 3 in the NBA in three-point attempts. So this is a team that's going to play more of an old man style. They want to get to the rim. They want to score within, three-point line and in. And so this is going to be fun to watch them, I think, throughout this playoffs. But I really think this first round is really just about them and the role players who didn't have larger roles last year, who have much larger roles this year, getting comfortable. So this first round will give them an opportunity. And then also, Cade didn't shoot that well in the first round last year, so I expect him to be a little bit more efficient this time around. So that's with Detroit. And then with the other 2 teams, I think the Charlotte Hornets, for me, reminds me kind of this era's version, potentially, of Run TMC. Now, if you don't know who Run TMC is Tim Hardaway Sr., Mitch Richmond, and then Chris Mullins. They all played on the Warriors back in the 90s. That's kind of what the Charlotte Hornets team kind of reminds me of. So for me, if they do make the playoffs, honestly, I would prefer to watch them versus Detroit, just because they've kind of had a little beef during the year. I'm pretty sure most of us have seen the scruffle they've had, and then also just every time they played each other, it's been fun, right? Because you have the 2 new kids on the block. Detroit was a new kid last year, and then you got Charlotte potentially being the new kid this year, playing one another in the first round. I just think it would be fun to watch. And Charlotte, offensively and defensively, actually have played extremely well since January 1st. So I think it could make for a very fun first-round series. Now, if it's the Magic come in a little bit more seasoned in the playoffs. They've been a few times now. I think them coming into the first round really would, I guess, just, allow Jamal Mosley to keep his job for a little longer. But I don't know if this team actually wants that for themselves. But let's say they do make the playoffs. For me, this first round, Orlando has the talent to beat quite a few of these teams, but I just don't think the mentality is there. So I really don't want to see Orlando in the first round with Detroit. But if they did, I think that would be a physical series because both teams play a downhill style and they are both physical teams. So that could be kind of a grind out series. But I feel like that Detroit and Hornets one is going to be more new school. I think Detroit is going to try to use their physicality and their size against the Hornets, where the Hornets might try to use their finesse and speed. So I just think that might be a faster and funner series. But yeah, I got Detroit in this. First round. I got them winning that series, regardless of who they play. I really think this is really just about Detroit becoming a more mature team, their defense, and their chip on their shoulder. So I got them winning that first series. The next series that I want to talk about is the Boston Celtics versus the Philadelphia 76ers. This series, for me, kind of similar to the last series. For me personally, we're going to talk about Boston first. With Boston, for me, it's me watching how these role players adapt to having larger roles. There's a lot of players. Boston's had to recycle quite a few players from last year's team. This year now, you got Queta, Hauser, Hugo Gonzalez, Jordan Walsh, and Baylor Shireman. These are players that didn't have really, if not no role, a very small role last year. So these players stepping into the playoffs, having larger roles. I really want to see how long does it take them to get comfortable. I think Philadelphia is a pretty good first-round foe for Boston, really for Jason Tatum and the others, just because, specifically for Tatum is very familiar with Philadelphia. He's had really big games against Philadelphia, in Philadelphia. Jaylen Brown enjoys playing Philadelphia. I mean, he abuses Philadelphia. This year so far in 4 games he's played against them, he averaged 27 points. Shooting splits, I think he shot like 54% from the field, like 45 from 3, and like 87 from the free throw line. Jaylen Brown is extremely comfortable playing the Philadelphia 76ers. So I think this is a really good first-round draw for Boston. Now, let me talk about Philadelphia. Will they get Joel Embiid back? I don't know. I've heard rumors and rumblings from people that he may come back. I don't know. I'm not even here really to speak on that. But I'm here more so to speak on this backcourt of Maxey and VJ, in my opinion. That's more so the long-term vision, obviously, for this team, but also even for this series. I think that's more so important than Joel coming back. Because for me, what I'll be looking out for them within this series is Maxey and VJ. How do they work together in the playoffs? Because that's going to look different than the regular season. Are these two guys that you can confidently put up against a Boston? Because Boston's not going anywhere anytime soon, right? So how would those two fare against a Boston for years to come? I get it. VJ's a rookie, so obviously it's going to look a little different year 1 compared to year 3 or 4. I get that. But still, this is a good measuring stick to see, okay, where are the downfalls, where are the weaknesses? And are these weaknesses things that can actually be worked on? Or are these weaknesses that may not be able to be solved, So that's what I'll be looking for within Philadelphia. And then also, I think this also is an opportunity for Paul George to regain the nickname Playoff P. I think this also is an opportunity for him to regain that in this series. I know he's been on a burner as of recent, but we also know how he's looked in the playoffs at times and other times how he's also looked. So that's where I think with this. I think my series prediction for this, I don't think Philadelphia is going to be able to slow down Jaylen Brown. I think Tatum, again, playing a familiar foe, will be able to get somewhat comfortable and will be able to dice that defense up and create a crazy amount of open threes for the others, which in turn will give the others confidence, shooting wide open threes, practice shots. So I got Boston just raining in threes all series long. I really don't think Philadelphia's defense is going to be able to stop the penetration of Boston's perimeter players, specifically Brown and Tatum. And if those two got it going, it's lights out. I don't really care if Joel Embiid comes back or not. So that's kind of my prediction for that series. My next series, Cavs-Raptors. Arguably, honestly, I don't even think it's even an argument. This is for sure the most intriguing first-round series in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, and probably most of you guys' opinion. So we'll start talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. So to me, for Cleveland, this series is really going to hinder on and really be highlighted by what type of players you get out of Evan Mobley and James Harden. If Mobley comes in and is playing physical and is demanding double teams and plays big, then Cleveland should be straight. If James Harden doesn't come in and doesn't disappear or start overthinking, I think they should be straight. And then also, it's going to be important, in my opinion, for them to keep the ball in front of them and make sure they get back on defense. No fast break points, no points off of turnovers. Toronto is they're fourth in the NBA in points off of turnovers. They average about 20 points off of turnovers, and I think they're first. I think they're first in fast break points at like 19 a game. So Cleveland, get back on defense, and I think it's going to really hinder on those two guys. I expect Jared Allen to deliver, even though I know he's been dealing with an injury. Donovan Mitchell's been having a career year, so I expect him to come and deliver. That's what I'm expecting out of Cleveland. Now, the Toronto side of this spectrum, kind of the opposite, right? Can Toronto come out and play a fast-paced, downhill type of series? If they can, they potentially can upset the Cleveland Cavaliers. Can Colin Murray-Boyles come off the bench and cause havoc and wreak havoc, guarding James Harden potentially on the perimeter and pick and roll? Can he shut down an Evan Mobley and really cause him to be frustrated? Toronto also, I think, they must take more threes than usual to keep the ball and also keep the ball moving and getting out on the fast break. Because right now, Toronto, I believe, I think like the fewest or the second. I think they take the second fewest threes per game since January 1st. And then on the other end, they shoot like a really good percentage, though. I think they're like fourth in the NBA in three-point percentage or something like that. I think like fourth, around that, like fourth in three-point percentage and like second in field goal percentage since January 1st. So Toronto, it's going to be paramount. Toronto's going to have to play a fast-paced game, get out on the breaks, force switches, make James Harden and Donovan Mitchell to have to guard certain players on the perimeter, making sure Toronto's able to get the switches that they're looking for is going to be key for them to win this game. Because I think if they can make the Cleveland guards have to guard on the perimeter, which in turn will open up Toronto's offense, because Toronto's been playing very good offense since January 1st, and get out on the break and force turnovers, Cleveland's going to lose this series, no doubt, right? So, but in totality for this series, I think even though the Cavs' new core doesn't have many games together, I'm taking Cleveland. I'm taking Cleveland in a hard-fought series. I'm taking Cleveland because I believe that Cleveland, the basketball world will rain down on the Cleveland Cavaliers if they lose this first-round series. I think they have enough vets on that team that understand that. So I expect them to come out and win this series. I think the series will be a more physical series than what Cleveland may be anticipating. But also, I think this is a really good kind of like entry into the playoff series for Cleveland, because there are players on Cleveland that people deem soft. So I think this is a really good entryway into that, into kind of going straight into physicality, entering the playoffs to kind of prep them for a potential second-round series. So I got Cleveland. I know their core four don't have many games together, but I'm taking Cleveland. They're 13-4 in clutch time games since February 1st, which is around the time they got James Harden. So I'm gonna take Cleveland because I think these games are gonna be potentially closer than what some people may be anticipating. Cleveland should win this series. They should. They have the better offense. They have more experience. They also, I think, has the best player in the series on their team. So they should win this series. But I think this series could potentially be a very grind-out type of series if Cleveland don't come to play and if Toronto comes out and executes on the things that I just highlighted to you guys. But yeah, I got Cleveland winning the series. It might take Cleveland 6 to 7 games, but I got the Cleveland Cavaliers winning this game. I think for me, the thing I'll be looking out for, since I do think Cleveland's going to win this series, is during the clutch. I know I just highlighted their record to you guys, but I'm interested to see how does that core four work together when their backs are against the wall within games, and potentially if they go down, let's say they go down 2-1 or something, right? Like, I want to see what mentally, how they respond as a unit, because this is a new group of guys working together. So that's where I'm kind of at with it. But I do got Cleveland winning that series. Next series, in the last series in the East, and then we'll go over to the West. My last series in the East, We got the Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks. So to me, we'll start off with the Knicks first. I think for the Knicks need to make this a very slow-paced game. I think they need to force Atlanta to score in the in the half court. I'm sorry. And also, I think they need to try to cut down on Atlanta's dribble penetration. Force Jalen Johnson to be a scorer/shooter, and don't allow him to be a passer. Is what I got for the Knicks. And then for Atlanta's main thing, I think they need to try and be disruptive as possible. Kind of similar to what Toronto needs to do, in my opinion, is Atlanta needs to force steals. Atlanta is 5th in steals since January 1st. They also need to get out and run. They need to move the ball around and don't let the ball stick. They're 3rd in fast break points at 18 a game, and 69% of their field goals are assisted. And that's 4th in the NBA. So Atlanta needs to keep spreading the ball and play fast pace like a young team should. That's kind of my forecast. That's what I need out of Atlanta, right? And then so my series prediction, I think New York, kind of similar to Cleveland, maybe actually even more than Cleveland, I would say. The Knicks understand they cannot lose this first round series no matter what. I think that sense of understanding, and also the experience they went through last year in the first round, I think the Knicks will come out and play a much better first round series this time around than last year. Last year, Detroit kind of surprised them a little bit. But I think this year, New York will understand we got to bury the Hawks early and fast. They need to end this series within 5. They do not need to let these be drawn out games. They need to be blowing the Hawks out if you're the Knicks. That's what you need to be trying to do. Try to just show that you guys have learned and made adjustments from what happened last year, because last year was a close one, in my opinion. So I think the Knicks will win this series. I think they win. Like I said, I think they need to try to get it over in 5. I'm not here to predict how many games it's going to take them, but if you're the Knicks, you don't want to be in a long, drawn-out series, okay? So that's my Eastern Conference, and like I told you guys, we'll do the second round when we get there, okay? You guys let me know down in the comment section below, who do you guys have in winning your Eastern first round series? Or do you have any upsets? You guys let me know down in the comment section below. So now we'll do the Western Conference. We'll start off with the Oklahoma City Thunder playing either the Warriors or the Phoenix Suns, which we'll find out later today. So for me, OKC, the main thing in this first round for OKC, I'm just going to be paying most attention to is Shea getting out to a really good start. Last year against Memphis, he shot really, really bad in that first round. Even though they blew Memphis out most of the games, he shot really, really bad. So I really want to see him kind of get out and have a much better first round series efficiency-wise and look a little bit more comfortable this time around. And he should. So that's what I'll be looking out for him in this first round. Also, I want to see their defensive intensity crank back up to what it was last year. Parts of the year this year, their defensive intensity I felt like wasn't there, but I also think that was a byproduct of them winning the title last year and learning and understanding, okay, parts of the year we can kind of let our foots off the gas a little bit defensively. So I expect in this first round to see Shea to start out throughout the playoffs and get out the gates a lot more efficient and look a little bit more comfortable and be more efficient. But also defensively, I want to see that defensive intensity of OKC ramp up. And let's say the Golden State Warriors make it. Golden State, I really don't think have any chance to beat the Warriors. I mean, I don't think Golden State or Phoenix really has a chance to beat OKC, but let's say in a theoretical world what that would look like. I think Golden State would need to shoot the lights out. I think Steph would need to have an all-time performance, truth be told, for them to beat the Thunder, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. Phoenix, I think they would need some of their young guys to step up. And I think they would need Devin Booker and Jalen Green to kind of both go on like burners similar to what Devin Booker and KD went on a couple of years ago in the playoffs. I think they would need that kind of effort for them, and then they would need those young guys on Phoenix to step up. But I don't really see that happening, so I don't want to waste too much time on this. I think OKC, regardless who they play, they should dispense of both teams pretty early on, is kind of my prediction there. The next series that I want to talk about is the San Antonio Spurs versus the Portland Trail Blazers. So we'll start off with the Spurs first. I think first round for me when it comes to the Spurs is Victor just ramping up, getting comfortable and used to the playoffs. The minutes, can he be durable? Because this year he only played about, I think, 29 minutes a game. In the playoffs, he's going to have to get up to like at least 35 minutes a game. I would say use this first round to at least get into that ramp up, because the second round he's going to have to play at least 37, 38 minutes a game, right? So it's going to be interesting to watch, I think, how he navigates not even just this first round, but just depending how deep they go in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to watch how he deals with that, the load of the playoffs, the physicality of the playoffs. Can he be durable? The dude's 7'5", 7'4", 7'5". So, like for a man that is that big, it's going to be interesting to watch. That's all I'm going to really say about that. I guess also another thing in this first round is just watching the Spurs offensive flow continue. The Spurs currently, since January 1st, they're fourth in the NBA in assists, and they also average the fourth fewest turnovers at 13 a game. So watching the Spurs continue to take care of the ball throughout the playoffs. This first round against Portland will be a good test for them, because Portland's kind of a more physical team. So I think this is a really good test for them. Now, on the Portland side, I think I've said this on the record before. I felt like I had Portland getting into the play-in this year in the preseason. I think Portland is right on schedule. A lot of their young guys getting into the playoffs at this point in their careers, I think is really going to benefit Portland for the years to come. Really, this is a great opportunity, again, like I said, for their young core just to get their feet wet and then see if they can somehow maybe get to a Game 6. Can Portland potentially still win in San Antonio, or can they win both in Portland? I think that would be massive for them. But I do expect the Spurs to disperse of them pretty early on, because I think style makes fights, and Portland's strengths, specifically Denny, is getting to the rim. They haven't had to play Victor at all this year. I don't believe Victor's played in any of the games that the teams have played this year. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I believe. And I think the Spurs are going to block off the paint. I don't think Denny's going to have those driving lanes. Portland is a horrible three-point shooting team. So unless Portland goes on a burner, which they might get hot for a game, they could get hot for a game, maybe two. Who knows? Maybe they can get hot for a game, and then maybe another game Victor gets in foul trouble or something, or knock on wood, Victor gets hurt. You just never know. But I think the Spurs wins this series. Like I said, I think the Spurs close off the paint, and I think Portland is in for a rude awakening seeing Victor down there in the middle, because I haven't seen him all year. So, I got the Spurs winning that series. But shout out to Portland for even making it to the playoffs. I know probably a lot of people didn't have them making it. So, that's what I got for that. And also, I think I'm going to be at Game 3, actually. I live in Portland, so I'll be at Game 3 for Portland versus the Spurs, because I got to witness Victor's first road playoff game. So I got to be in the building for that. Next series is probably the most. We'll save that one for last, actually. I was going to do the Denver, Minnesota. Actually, let's just do it. We'll do Denver and Minnesota. So we'll start first First, I'll start off by talking about Denver. Denver is now healthy. Back in December, I came on here. I told you guys I felt like Denver was the best team in basketball, and then all the injuries piled up. And then I kind of had to regress from that. They're finally a healthy team. I'm really excited to see how the others look in this matchup against Minnesota, because obviously this is part 3 of the little mini rivalry. So I'm interested to see how the others look in this matchup, right? Now you got Bruce Brown coming back to Denver. You got Peyton Watson, who's kind of stepped up into a larger role. You got Cam Johnson now, right? So I'm interested to see how the others, and obviously you got Aaron Gordon still and Christian Braun. I'm interested to see how those new others, the additions of the others, I'm interested to see how they respond to playing Minnesota and how they go about guarding Ant, because now Denver has have a couple more bodies that they can throw at Ant. So I'm interested to see that. Also, I think Denver is the first team in NBA history to have 7 guys average more than 12 points a game. Don't quote me on that either. You can fact check that if you want to. But I just think they got the bodies to throw at Ant now. So let's see if they can finally slow him down, because he's had a ball playing against Denver the last couple years. And then for Minnesota, to me, and I've said this back in December, that this was a very stagnant team in my opinion. I just think they're kind of a middle-of-the-pack group now. I know Ant has came out and said that he felt like they were kind of just going through the motions of the regular season, just didn't really care. You gotta create habit, right? And that habit starts in the regular season. The regular season does matter when it comes to habit creating. And I think them not taking it serious, them not getting reps in with one another, like meaningful reps, I think that will show in this first round against Denver. But they do have the bodies and the experience against Denver to beat Denver as well. So, and like I said, Ant has had a field day against Denver in the past, and that could happen once more. I think also another key player for Minnesota, and I've been on the record to say this, is Jaden McDaniels. Does McDaniels come out and does he crank it up a notch from the regular season? His shot attempts during the regular season did gradually increase. I want to see them come up again in the playoffs. Can he get up to 16 shots a game in the playoffs, maybe 17, and really let the NBA world know that he's willing to be that Robin to Ant's Batman? That's what I would really like to see out of Minnesota. I think series prediction-wise, I'm taking the Denver Nuggets. I think Denver's a more complete team at this point. I think Minnesota is a stagnant team, and that's just my personal opinion about it. And also, I think Minnesota's a little worse than they were last year. Some of their core guys are a little older now. So, and they also lost, I think, a really important piece in Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He was somebody that was pivotal in the series when they were full court pressing Jamal Murray. So they don't have him anymore. So, yeah, I got Denver winning this series. And like I said, Denver's healthy and they're more complete. In the last series, the Lakers versus the Rockets, we'll start off with the Lakers. For me, can LeBron get help from some of the others, specifically DeAndre Ayton and Rui Hachimura? Can they help LeBron? Can they step up? And also, does Bron have enough gas in the tank to give us 4 masterpieces to win this series? Or even can he force Houston? Can he prolong this series against Houston long enough to try to potentially maybe get Luka back? That's what the keys are for the Lakers. For Houston, on the other side, in my opinion, I think if I'm Houston, I'm going to be as physical as possible in this series. I'm going to full court press LeBron. I'm going to full court press those Lakers guards and really make sure that the Lakers guards feels Houston's presence 94 feet. I do expect, and my prediction for this series is I do expect the Houston Rockets to win this series. I think asking of LeBron being 41 years old, asking him to carry the load of this team, I think that's a lot. And I think Houston I think Houston has problems. Don't get me wrong. I think Houston has problems, but they would have some serious questions to answer to if they allow LeBron at this age with that supporting cast to beat them. So I do expect Houston to win this series. Can Bron get you? I think Bron could get you 1 to 2 games. I think Bron can get you 1 to 2 games at this point in his career. So, but I think the key and the most important thing is that Houston disperses of the Lakers as soon as possible, because you don't want to get stuck in a place where you got Luka coming back, and Luka coming back, no matter what injury he's coming off of, Luka's going to take 25 shots, and we know how Luka can get hot. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful for your Houston Rockets. And then I want to give you guys, I will tell you guys who my NBA champ is. I do got the Oklahoma City Thunder winning the NBA title. This team, depth-wise, I think their players are more mature this year. I think their depth is more mature, and they're better this year. And there's players on that team that I think have gained even more confidence than last year. Chet's more efficient this year. Shea's more efficient this year. Unfortunately, Jalen Williams, had his injury and whatnot, so he hasn't been that good this year. But I think he'll be okay when the playoffs come around. I think they're going to go back to back. And I think that defense is going to scream again just like it did last year, just like I predicted it would. So I do got the Oklahoma City Thunder winning the NBA title this year. And, thank you for tuning into the PJ Hoop Podcast. Look out for some episodes next week. I'm going to release some PJ and Friends episodes next week, so look out for those. But PJ is out.